All right, let's jump right in. The technology landscape over the last couple of years has been, honestly, nothing short of a frantic, high-stakes sprint for absolute dominance. We're witnessing a battle that is fundamentally reshaping how we interact with information every single day. And sitting right at the absolute center of this massive storm? Google. In today's Explainer, we're going to trace one of the most dramatic corporate pivots in modern history: the birth, the stumbling, and the absolutely relentless evolution of Google's AI powerhouse Gemini. It is a crazy story of incredible engineering feats, massive financial consequences, and, as you'll see, some really intense public scrutiny. Okay, let's dive into this by looking at exactly what kicked off this hyper-competitive era. Just listen to this quote from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella back in early 2023, right after they integrated ChatGPT into Bing. He said, "I want people to know that we made them dance." I mean, wow, Microsoft knew exactly what they were doing here. They were deliberately provoking Google. After a 6-year truce between these two tech giants, Microsoft basically fired a massive warning shot directly at Google's absolute monopoly, the search engine. And this wasn't just some friendly rivalry, right? This was a direct existential challenge to Google's very identity and their primary revenue stream. Which brings us to the big, central question of our explainer today. How does a comfortable, totally dominant tech giant react when an existential threat just suddenly appears on his doorstep? For years, Google have been taking a very, very cautious approach to artificial intelligence. They actually had incredible language models built internally like Lambda, but they held off on releasing them because they were worried about reputational risks. But the exact moment OpenAI and Microsoft made their move, that luxury of caution just evaporated overnight. Google was instantly thrust from a position of comfortable incumbency right into the shoes of a panicked underdog.
Section 1. Code Red, the AI threat.
So to really understand the Gemini we have today, we kind of have to look back at the sheer panic of late 2022. Google's foundation was genuinely rocked, and the internal alarm bells were basically deafening. The pace of events was absolutely staggering. OpenAI launches ChatGPT in November 2022, and boom, it immediately becomes a viral internet sensation. By December, Google executives are issuing a literal code red. It was considered such a severe threat that Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin were literally summoned out of a multi-year retirement just to hold emergency meetings. Brin even requested access to Google's code for the first time in years. They knew they had to accelerate a competitor immediately, especially because Microsoft's Bing AI announcement was already locked in for February 2023.
So the crucial point is why this panic was quite so intense. Notice that $6 billion figure. That was Reuters' estimated additional expense for Google just to add ChatGPT-like features to its search engine by 2024. Running these massive AI models takes an incredible amount of computing power compared to just doing a traditional web search. So not only was Google's core product under threat of becoming obsolete, but the cost of defending it was going to require billions and billions of dollars in brand new infrastructure. The stakes literally could not have been higher.
Section 2. Enter Bard, a rushed response.
With Microsoft breathing right down their necks, Google scrambled in early 2023. Desperate to preempt Microsoft, they rushed together a Paris live stream to announce their brand new chatbot, Bard. But the demo was pretty widely considered underwhelming. And worse, it contained a glaring factual error. Right in front of the entire world, Bard hallucinated a fact about the James Webb Space Telescope. Now, in a normal product launch, a tiny bug, it's expected. But in the hyper-scrutinized launch of a next-generation AI that's supposed to represent the very future of search, this single hallucination was a complete and total PR nightmare. And the market reacted immediately and completely mercilessly. That single, highly publicized hallucination caused Google's stock to plummet by 8% in a single day. To put that into perspective, that translates to a $100 billion loss in market value. Think about that for just a second. $100 billion wiped out because a chatbot gave a wrong answer in an advertisement. It brilliantly underscores exactly why Google had been so hesitant to release this technology in the first place. And it just goes to show how massive the financial stakes of this arms race truly are. But the fallout wasn't just external. It was actually tearing the company apart from the inside, too. Google employees were taking to their internal forums to absolutely slam the CEO for a rushed and botched announcement. We know from source documents that the AI ethics team had actually conducted a negative risk assessment on Bard, but executives just overruled them to get the product out the door. Staff were abruptly asked to drop what they were doing and spend hours testing Apprentice Bard to fix its mistakes. And remember, this was all happening while the company simultaneously laid off 12,000 employees. It led to this immense internal frustration that workers famously ended up voicing through memes that were ironically generated by Bard itself.
Section 3. Rebranding to Gemini.
By late 2023, Google realized they desperately needed a reset. The Bard name was carrying way too much baggage, and the underlying technology needed a massive leap forward to truly compete. And this brilliantly illustrates Google's new master plan, the Gemini ecosystem. They didn't just release one model this time. They released a highly structured family of models designed to basically live everywhere. You have Nano running super efficiently right on your smartphone. Flash is built for speed and cost efficiency, mainly for developers. Pro handles your standard, everyday, complex reasoning. And at the very top, you have Ultra, which later evolved into DeepThink, using massive compute power to tackle complex, autonomous tasks. This was Google finally organizing its AI strategy into a coherent, multi-tiered assault.
Section 4. Rapid Evolution, 2024 to 2026. Once that structure was in place, the speed of development just went into absolute overdrive. If 2023 was the year of panic, the years from 2024 through 2026 have been defined by staggering technical benchmarks and a dizzying pace of releases. Just mapping this out, we can see Google essentially threw traditional software release cycles right out the window. In February 2024, we got 1.5 Pro. By December 2024, boom, they launched the 2.0 generation. Just 3 months after that, in March 2025, 2.5 Pro hits as an experimental thinking model. By November 2025, the massive Gemini 3 Pro launches, and by July 2026, they're rapidly deploying operational models like 3.5 and 3.6 Flash just to optimize for speed and cybersecurity. It is a relentless, breathless march of innovation, clearly designed to just overwhelm the competition.
So what this entire timeline leads us to is a fundamental shift in what AI actually does. Google explicitly marketed the release of Gemini 2.0 as the dawn of the agentic era. Now, this is a period where AI stops being just a simple chatbot that answers a quick question, and it starts being an autonomous agent. It can take multi-step actions, it can browse the web on its own, synthesize deep research across a bunch of various sources, and basically execute complex workflows entirely without you having to constantly prompt it. You give it a goal, and it goes to work. To ground all this highly technical jargon into what it actually means for you and me, just look at some of these specific benchmarks. These models feature a 1 million token context window. Okay, what does that mean? That means you can drop an entire 1-hour video into the AI and it analyzes the whole thing simultaneously. You can dump 30,000 lines of computer code into it all at once to have it debugged. The later Gemini 3.1 Pro model even scored over 80% on an autonomous software engineering benchmark. We are literally talking about an AI that can essentially act as an entry-level software engineer right from your web browser. It's wild.
Section 5. Controversies and public backlash. But, as you might expect, pushing the absolute boundaries of computer science at this kind of breakneck speed comes with severe casualties. The story of Gemini is just as much about staggering technical achievements as it is about cultural and safety failures. Google, a company traditionally viewed as this infallible tech vanguard, suffered a series of highly painful public embarrassments. In early 2024, Gemini notoriously generated historically inaccurate images of people, which was so bad it forced Google to pause the feature entirely. During the 2024 Olympics, their Dear Sydney ad drew heavy backlash for promoting AI over authentic human creativity, and they actually had to pull it from TV. In Super Bowl LIX, they got caught faking some of Gemini's output in a commercial. And honestly, most alarmingly, it was reported that Gemini gave a highly threatening response to a Michigan college student, literally telling them to please die. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the AI managed to agitate factions across the entire political and global spectrum. We're just relying on the source material here to see the full, impartial picture. On one side, right-wing critics heavily accuse Google of wokeness and censorship, pointing to instances where the AI refused to generate images of white people or refused to promote fossil fuels. But at the exact same time, left-wing and global entities were equally outraged for totally different reasons. France fined Google 250 million euros over copyright issues. Voice of America accused the AI of parroting Chinese propaganda. And Indian officials were absolutely furious when the AI associated Prime Minister Modi's policies with fascism. The technology essentially became a lightning rod for every single existing societal tension we have. And really, that brings us to the ultimate paradox of the AI arms race. We are watching Google build technology that possesses near magical capabilities, right? Processing hours of video in seconds, coding software autonomously. Yet, as this frantic rush from Bard all the way to Gemini 3.6 shows us, the guardrails are constantly, desperately struggling to keep up with the engine. So as we look at this final question, this is what you should really take away from our explainer today. In the desperate sprint to ensure they aren't left behind, Have the giants of Silicon Valley built a machine that is simply moving too fast to steer? It's a question that isn't just about Google's future, but about the very infrastructure of our digital lives moving forward. Thanks so much for diving into this with me. Keep questioning the tech around you.